nerdsreviews.com presents Nerds Talking, the podcast.
Yo! We talk about lightsabers, stunning your TV screens, what you want to stream, everything beyond your dreams. Want to talk about movies, sports, or even politics? Go ahead and tune into us, we'll give you all of it. Whatever you're debating, Xbox or PlayStation, Marvel or DC, Mac or PC. Teraflops when the movie drops, gigabytes, chips, RAM, no matter what it is, we got all of it. Welcome to the show.
Nerds Talking, the podcast.
Welcome to Nerds Talking, the podcast. This is our soccer special as we talk about, soccer. We have a bunch of guests joining us today. Carlos, as you know, he's the co-host of the show.
Hello.
And we have Danny Pinto, who also has his own soccer podcast. Danny, fill us in real quick on what you got going on.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me on. I host the Seleção Podcast, which is a podcast about the Portuguese national team. I actually just finished up my latest episode today. You'll be hearing it tomorrow. So if you got Apple iTunes, Spotify, all that, just go ahead and hit me up on the Seleção Podcast. And it's a good time to cover Portuguese soccer as they are doing quite well. But obviously we are here today to talk about the United States and soccer. So good to be here, boys.
Thank you for coming. We got Emre, who is the director of Placer United. Emre, say hello.
Hi, guys. And I've been coaching, playing almost all my life, and coaching about 30 years. And
wow.
Since 5-6 years old, touching the ball, playing almost every level except the highest level professional. But right now, I just came from the field. So I still involved with the youth soccer heavily.
Nice. And Maurice, who's been on the show before in our gaming episode about streaming. Give me your background on soccer, Maurice.
I'm probably not competitive. I played throughout my whole childhood. I played with Danny here. I think I played with you guys too. I played with you guys too when we played for Benfica. And then our little Sacramento area Benfica, not the real Benfica. But I played. I followed soccer and football for my whole life. You know, it's just it's a passion, especially because we're Portuguese, and we've always followed the Portuguese team, the national team, and now even with us being here in the United States, we still follow the United States. We take pride in that too, I think, as well.
Oh yeah, and we got Carlos as well. He still plays soccer at age 50?
46. Thank you.
Close enough.
We round
up. All right, fellas, thanks for coming to the show, Nerds Podcast, Nerds Talking, I should say. So we're going to start. It's all about American soccer here today. It's around the horn style, so I'll bring up the talking points, and we'll go around. You guys give your opinion on it and your take. And we're going to start off with the American soccer and the pay-to-play format, which Carlos can touch on that for a minute. What is the pay-to-play format that you are bringing up?
Well, just as it says, pay to play. I mean, you have to pay to play soccer in the United States. And the downside is if you can't afford to pay, then you're not going to play. I mean, the U.S. misses out on a lot of talent due to this format. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Emre and Danny. I really don't think it's going anywhere. I think business comes first when it comes to the U.S.
All right. Emre, what do you think about that?
Oh, this is the over 30 years in United States soccer. I learn as I go. And you're right about the pay to play. So all the clubs are structured by volunteers and small budgets. And different type of levels they call or they identify themselves, and able to rent the fields and find some coaches and equipments and type of things has money involved. So they have to distribute those the price and the cost. And higher you go, you have to get more serious and you have to find more professionals to help the youth soccer. So it become a job. And this structure based on the demand and based on the how we go, unfortunately, you have to pay to play.
All right.
Same way with other countries and cultures.
Yeah. And then Danny, what's your take on the American soccer pay to play youth? It's more in the youth, but what's your take on that?
Well, for me, it's just in terms of cost, soccer is one of the more expensive sports, solely based on the amount of kids you have on a team. With basketball, you see how AAU operates. In basketball, it's half the size of a soccer team. You're buying sneakers at $120, $130 a pair, but just travel costs and the renting of facilities and all that stuff is half the price at the very least of what anyone is doing in soccer, solely based on the pay-to-play format. And on top of that, this country still has not done a good enough job of reaching out to its best athletes to play the game of soccer. Now, maybe we're just not fundamentally there, but you look at the athletes and the superstars in football, in basketball, in baseball, in hockey even. We know that this country of nearly 350 million people, we should be able to field a team of 22 guys that should be competing on every 4 years in the World Cup, and see what you want about the Gold Cup every 2 years, whatever it is. But there should be a competitive squad in this country, and in recent history, it hasn't been there. I think it was embarrassing that the team didn't qualify for the World Cup 4 years ago. A lot of young players now plying their trade in England and in Italy and in Germany. So it's good there. But in terms of cost alone, it's a very expensive project to be involved in, solely based on, the number of kids that need to be involved in order to have teams function.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Maurice, what is your take? Do you think kids should stick to the high school route? Or do you feel like they have to play youth soccer to really gauge their skill, their talent, to even play the high school route?
I think like Danny and it's Emre, right?
Yes.
They both touched on things that like I view like it costs money to play. For these guys to get better, they need the better coaching, they need the fields, the staff to get them to improve. And then like Danny said, we can't even reach the cream of the crops of like athletes, because unfortunately, most of these sports that we watch, all these athletes come from lower income areas. They can't afford to play soccer. So unfortunately, we pretty much price out all the players that might have a chance to make an impact on United States, soccer, because they can't play. If you think about it, like a LeBron James or some guy that was really good at another sport, maybe he liked soccer, but unfortunately he couldn't play it because his mom couldn't afford it.
And I think you get a good point. Danny brought up a great point. If you think about youth sports, kids aren't, I should say, organized youth sports. Besides soccer, there isn't like kids clamoring to play youth basketball when they get past a certain age, right? But soccer, they continue playing it, and it feels like there's more soccer leagues than anything else you can join as a kid, like a ton of them, where you can't just go join a football league. There isn't, the neighborhood football league. There isn't of course there's baseball, but that's dirt cheap. Any kid can play baseball. Most of the kids suck at it anyway. So, soccer is definitely something where it's expensive. You're right. Carlos can, join on this one. Just running a team is expensive. Even when we coached what they considered amateur semi-pro adult league, it was expensive as hell. Buying all the uniforms for everybody, making sure they had everything they needed, paying for the league fees, the referees. It just keeps adding up and adding up. And even as adults, they don't even want to pay. They show up, I don't want to pay my fees. I'll play for your team though. Even they don't want to pay. You know, I'm like, you have a job. I don't care. I'm too good to pay. Like, you know.
Well, he's able to play.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
As a team, you need those players.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're like, okay, I'll pay your fees. Damn it, I need you at forward. Yeah, and it's crazy. It's crazy how people don't think that how expensive soccer is. It is an expensive sport to.
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't. No, you're right. It doesn't have to be. You're 100% correct. It doesn't have. It could be just as inexpensive as the other sports.
Actually, should be cheaper than any other sport because I came from Turkey. You guys from Portugal, and all you need to have, not even a cleats. If you have a sneaker, and you have a shirt, and you have a short, you're good to go. Unfortunately, structures built in the United States is a little bit different, and there's a lot of disconnections. So you said youth basketball, youth baseball, or American football, right? They're connected from the neighborhood to the schools, to the college, and the pro. There's a system in place. So as a parents, you follow those, and they're consistent each other. So the parent sees that there's a future for my kid, and able to get a scholarship from the college, get a scholarship from somewhere to be qualified if you don't have the money, because you're talented. In soccer, even you're talented, those elements and construction, structure's not there. So you have to go to the private clubs. You cannot go to your high school team or middle school team to play because season's too short and couple teachers runs the program. They have no soccer background and they have no idea. They're just putting kids together and play. Then the kids has no connection from there to go to college with the scholarship. Nobody offers them. Soccer club scholarships these days about $2,000, $3,000, except the ladies' side. Ladies' side is a full scholarships. That's why you see the women soccer is very strong in the world, because there's a structure and path to follow. So hopefully,
yeah. No, you're right. That's how I look at it. I look at it as kids in other sports, they look forward to playing high school soccer because they know that's the next level to get them where they want to be. And you're right. Youth soccer, there's not that outlook. It's just, I'm going to keep playing soccer in this league that might not get me anywhere, but I'm going to keep paying to play because I want to play, you know? Yes. And that's just, that's the take on it. And that's how it is when I coach a team. It was just guys wanting to pay to play. That's it. I want to play. Here's some money. Oh, you're not very good. I don't care. Come play on my team anyway. You pay the fee.
It's funny you said that. I mean, I see a lot of talented players. Sometimes I go out there and recruit them from the parks.
Yep.
And most likely the Hispanics or some other culture kids. And but the mom and dad doesn't have enough money to support that. Even sometimes I pay from my pocket or give them a ride. But diversity is so much in the soccer that everybody calls themselves comp team, ODP teams, the academy teams.
Yeah.
In my eyes, they're no different. They're all grassroots teams because they're youth. And but they promise a lot of things that they cannot deliver. A lot of clubs has no identity. They call themselves a rec soccer. Then all of a sudden, I have a comp team. And a lot of them is run by the volunteer coaches, mom and dad. No knowledge. They just know on the street or from their own background. If you compare to other sports, we have a lot of deficit on that end too. So those players that very talented don't have a lot of money, they have nowhere to go because one tournament is in the different city or different town. Now we have to go travel. We have to pay the hotel, lodging, and everything else over the weekend tournaments. It's a lot of cost. So average family these days, if they play organized soccer, they're paying about $45,000 a year. That's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. Did you say 4 to 5 or 45? 4 to 5, right?
4 to 5. This is average. Yeah.
That is a lot. And I mean, that's gone up, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, because we're looking at about $200 a month, fees, gears, and lodging if you go to tournaments are expensive. Each team pays about $1,000 now these days if you have a tournament. So you're paying the hotel and this and that. That's a big commitment for parents that they have 2 income and 4 kids.
Oh yeah, no, it's expensive. I mean,
it's tough.
yeah, it's really expensive. Danny, what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, you have to figure out, and I think the whole issue with it in this country is what was said earlier about you can't look at soccer in the same manner in which you look at basketball, football, and baseball in terms of that next level in doing the whole school, high school, college. Because by the time that senior year is over for an American kid who's gone through that whole system, he's 22, he's 21, 22, 23 years old. He hasn't been part of any kind of club association. It's only been the college structure, which, to be honest, I'm not too familiar with, but from everything that I've read and from everything that I've, in talking with a lot of people who are kind of against it, it doesn't fulfill what a United States national team is looking for on the men's side. As was said earlier, the women's side, yeah, there's more money there going through that system, but you're looking at all these younger players now who are applying their trade in Europe, and none of them went to college to play soccer in this country. They were all, there's that Bradenton Academy in Florida, which is probably the closest thing to a national, like a national setting to get these players ready for that next level internationally, to leave the States to go play in England and in Spain and in Germany. Yeah, there are success stories in the MLS where it's gone, or they've gone through college and stuff, but internationally for the bigger name players, that's few and far between. Guys like Landon Donovan didn't play college ball. Guys like Clint Dempsey didn't play college ball. A guy like Jordan Morris, who is probably the best player to play college soccer that the States have produced in the last maybe 5-10 years, he's the exception. He isn't the rule. Tom Brady going to Michigan is the rule in football.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're
so it's something that the American culture just has not grasped in terms of developing soccer in this country.
Yeah, and you're right. You're right, because when you think about what you just said, when's the last time ESPN told you have to watch this soccer player out of Syracuse? And we're going to keep showing you his
John Wallace.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly, John Wallace. Like we're going to keep showing you his soccer highlights. Oh my God, he's the next big thing. No, because college soccer here it's what soccer is in the States in general. It's 4th, 5th place in the sports, hierarchy.
It's a replication of what the MLS is. And if that's the product, that's the product. But we can't also be surprised that the product internationally hasn't improved over the years like we thought it might. And I think it's slowly getting there on the bigger scale. But again, and I know that we're talking youth soccer here, but with these younger players in Europe playing and now playing for the United States today, they had the friendly against Wales. A lot of those kids are not what the system is currently in the States. And internationally, you have to take advantage of that while they're playing, but you have to fix a system that is too replicated on the other big sports that just doesn't work for this sport in this country.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with how the Europe or other countries, the soccer system works in the youth to the professional? Are you guys familiar with?
Somewhat.
Okay. I'll give you an example from my country, but very similar in Europe. So you start playing soccer in your neighborhood, okay, in the street. And all of a sudden, you have a neighborhood team. And these teams are connected to your major teams and professional teams. And their job is to feed the system. So they're not saying that I'm going to be better than you. It says, hey, let's say Benfica, I'm working for Benfica club, but I'm in the youth soccer. So my job is to promote player and send it to Benfica. And with that, when this players become age 14 to 15 to 16, it will be his first sign-up contract. In that first sign-up contract, part of the money goes to the club who raised them. So club able to get money. And that way they can stay in the business and able to find more players that talented. And also they don't, those players don't have to pay anything. So to the player side is free. The clubs get fed by professional teams because they need those youth players. So you guys see that sometimes the brand new, let's say in the Barcelona, some brand new guys, he's age 17, 18. All of a sudden, where this guy came from. But if you look at his history, behind probably 3-4 clubs before he comes to the Barcelona. So Barcelona pays those fees, those clubs, because those clubs has to get paid. The structure is totally different. So that's why a lot of recruiters goes out there on the streets, on the neighborhood games, start identifying those players. And they select the players from there. Hopefully makes sense.
Yeah, it's like a farm system. Yeah, it's almost like baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Where the Yankees feed 3 teams their money to keep building their players up and then send them up.
Like certain clubs in Spain, Valencia, or some other clubs, they're well known. They're academy players club. Their job is to promote players. They're never going to be top 10 every time because they don't have that budget, but they survive promoting and transferring players to the other clubs. So they get paid.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this on Nerds Talking the Podcast with more soccer.
nerdsreviews.com for all your latest in tech, video games, movies, and more. Go to nerdsreviews.com today.
Welcome back to Nerds Talking the Podcast, our soccer edition. We have a question from Carlos here in the segment. Go ahead and lead us off. What you have.
Well, first I want to touch real quick on what Danny and Maurice were saying and what Emre was saying. Like scouting, I think scouting is a big problem when it comes to youth soccer. I mean, if you were to put basketball into play, scouts, they will scout the local gyms, they'll scout the local blacktops, in the parks, this and that. But I think in soccer, with the scouting is that they really just scout college and, the high-end tournaments. I mean, you don't see these scouts going out to the parks and looking at the kids, you don't see them hanging out with the youth practices. Like, Emre, you're not going to have a scout hanging out at your practice to look at your kids, right? No, because, and that's part, I think that's another part of the problems. And it's scouting is a big problem. I mean, that's why some of these kids, they leave soccer because some of the other games are more popular and they have a better chance of getting picked up and scouted if they're that good, right? I mean,
funny you just said that age 12 to 14, most of the soccer players quit. We lose most of the best players. They quit. They go to basketball, lacrosse, and believe it or not, play rugby, but they don't play soccer. They quit.
And I can see that. I can see that kids quit at that age because of interest and because of parents, Yeah. Parents, I think you're done playing that, go play your Xbox. I want to go play, this now, I mean, Maurice, what age did you play and what age did you tell yourself, I don't want to play anymore?
I played for a pretty long time. I think I was like 7 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old when I first started playing. And then I played throughout junior high all the way to high school. And I think once I started working in high school, I stopped playing. And then I started playing again when I was like 17, 18. And I played till I was 20, I think it was. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you have a passion for it, you have a passion for it. I don't think you're going to let that change. But unfortunately, like Danny said earlier, they have certain steps in certain sports that you progress through. High school, college, than pro. Soccer, it whittles down. It's like you could play high school, but it doesn't mean you're going to get scouted to go to college. So that makes it a little bit narrower. And then I just think the avenues for these people to have success in any type of sport isn't there with soccer. It's just not, unfortunately. So the kids get tired and don't see a path in front of them, so they don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, the other thing too is that if you
go ahead, Carlos.
Get to college to play soccer, you're already, like in Euro terms, you're in your prime.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So here in the US, if you're playing college, that's it. I mean, your highest level, if you're lucky, is MLS. You're not going to Europe. And now a lot of these players feel, I'm sure they feel that if they don't make it to Europe, they've failed as a soccer player, right? Because that's their goal. They want to be the next Neymar. They want to be the next Messi, right? But you're not going to be that. If you go to college, it's a 3-month season. It's so short. They spend no time on this. And when colleges cut sports, they cut soccer first. They're not going to cut football. They're not going to cut baseball or basketball. So in the US, I mean, that's a big problem. If you want your kid to succeed as a soccer player, in my eyes, you got to take them to Europe. You got to make that step and make that personal sacrifice if you can. If you're a citizen of another country, if you get accepted by these other clubs, I mean, you will rarely get scouted by other clubs here in the US, especially, I mean, to me, college is it. I mean, if you play college ball, congratulations, you play college ball. And if you're lucky to get to the MLS, cool. But that's it. I mean, that's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, but my question is for Danny. I mean, wouldn't you see reaching the MLS as a U.S. player like the top goal in a sense, not necessarily playing in Europe? Because I think that's a stretch. U.S. players playing in Europe as well.
I would disagree. If the thing about soccer in this country that I think is a big positive in just the amount of players that we do have playing overseas. Believe it or not, Emre, as a gaming guy, FIFA on Xbox and FIFA on PlayStation has given these kids an ability to identify with the Neymars and the Messis and Ronaldos and Gareth Bales and all these players that, when you're learning how to play FIFA, you're going to, the team that has the highest rating. Well, the highest rated team has the best players. And then you familiarize yourself with that. Then all of a sudden in the last 10, 15 years, you've seen that the United States has, purchased the rights to Champions League matches on ESPN and then on Fox, then on CBS. And then the same thing with, the MLS, building off of the great World Cup that was in 1994 here in the country. But this sport, and I think Men in Blazers, their podcast, I think it's the fastest growing sport since 1972 or something like that in the country. I mean, it just hasn't hit yet. And one of the points that was made before was when you get to 13, 14 and you see that players have stopped going forward because maybe the parents don't, are saying, well, you've hit it. Well, yeah, it's money, but also they also don't know any other outlet for soccer other than the United States way because it wasn't part of the culture. And I think culturally this has a lot to do with the issues that this country has with not being where it potentially could be because it just isn't something that we were brought up with. All of us Portuguese guys, we know that, soccer is next to religion in Portugal. Emre, same with you, probably in Turkey as well. In all of Europe, it's everywhere. It's big everywhere except here.
Yeah,
and it still potentially could be such a awesome sport with a bunch of athletes that can play this game. But if that inherent love for the soccer and love for the sport isn't there, it's hard to replicate that later on.
Yeah,
you're right about that. I think soccer here is a regional thing. You know what I mean? So unlike, say, a really popular team like the New York Yankees.
You said original or unoriginal?
No, regional.
Regional. Okay.
Where your team, like for instance, the LA Galaxy, the only fans are in LA. You know what I mean? Like they're packing the stadium. They're not a team.
There's no one in North Dakota cheering for the Galaxy.
Exactly, but there's someone in North Dakota cheering for cheering for the Yankees, right? Cheering for the 49ers. You know what I mean? Like here, it's never ever gonna trump the top 3 sports in this country. I'll be honest, I don't think it's ever gonna come close to the top 3 sports in this country.
It never will.
Yeah, it just not here.
But if that's the goal, they're going to lose. If they want to take a different approach, it does. See, I don't think, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, Lafayette, but just be who you are and try to improve in that sense. So yeah, they're never going to beat the NFL or Major League Baseball or the NBA, but can't you improve on what is the system now and try to make the MLS a more attractive option? Try to make the players that you see potential in, try to find outlets to where you can help that family out, where maybe they send them to coaches that actually have plied their trade in England or have been doing it for 20, 30 years, or just trying to find different outlets instead of just, all right, sign up here. All right, we go for 10 weeks and then it's over. And then you'll do it in junior high, you'll do it in high school, do it in college, and then see ya, that's it. The answers aren't easy, but there has to be someone who's working on these that are in much higher places than the 5 of us.
Well, but we're working hard. We're working really hard.
I know you are, man.
Oh, fantastic. All right, let's take one more break here, and then we'll be right back here on Nerds Talking the Podcast. Up next, we're going to talk about, not more or less, can it be fixed? We already kind of gone through all the ideas, what everyone has, but we're going to kind of dip into that. And then we're going to have an opinion on what makes the best player in the world. Oh, that's going to be a good one. Right here on Nerds Talking the Podcast.
All right, the game's on.
Pass.
Okay.
Pass.
Somebody shoot the damn ball.
Pass. Oh, pass.
Shoot the damn ball.
Okay, pass.
Oh, my
pass.
This is why I hate soccer.
Pass.
Welcome back to Nerds Talking the Podcast, the soccer edition. We're going to jump into the culture of soccer in the U.S. and more or less like you're growing up and how soccer was portrayed to you, how it is, how you see it in the U.S. growing up, because some people might see it as, they already knew what it was, but it wasn't part of their growing up. Because, for instance, I grew up, all of us here, Sacramento, basically, and we all grow up being Sacramento Kings fans, right? It's kind of just thrown on us. You're a Kings fan. You're from Sacramento. It's what you know. You love the Sacramento Kings. Well, can I be a Lakers fan? You don't want to do that. So, but you're a 49er fan because they're the local team. That's the local team. You're the A's fan, you're the Giants fan, and so forth. In soccer, you didn't have that growing up. You know what I mean? You did if your dad said, oh, I like Benfica. Oh, well, what? When are you going to watch that? Oh, we can't watch it. It's never on here. Oh, then how do you know about it? Oh, I'll get the newspaper, or I'll call my cousin in Portugal. He'll tell me what happened, before the internet, So that's the thing about culture in soccer. So then we'll go around the horn. We'll start off with Maurice, from that perspective. Like, how was it growing up? Was soccer really part of the culture for you growing up, or was it just something you played because, your parents signed you up for it?
It was definitely part of the culture. I mean, coming from a family that's from Europe, that's the main sport in Europe. So that's the passion my father had was football, soccer. So that's what I was made to play. I remember trying to branch off to play basketball, and my dad showed no interest in that whatsoever. It was like, basketball? Okay, go do that with your mom. I was like, that's what I used to get. So like soccer was pretty much like the first outlet that they even threw at me. Like, this is the only thing you have to do. This is what I know. This is what I actually have knowledge about what you're doing. I won't be lost. I won't be confused.
You know what? That's a huge thing right there. That's 100%. Danny, what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, like much like Maurice was saying, it's born into it. You're born into that. As a person of Portuguese descent, soccer is everything. It's like I said earlier, it's next to religion. I was lucky enough. My dad coached me in one of my first years, and when I was 5 or 6 years old.
August.
with the Aguia's youth team, my godfather Manuel, João Branco, all those guys helped mold me, the player, at a very young age. But I mean, if they were, my folks were supportive of whatever I wanted to play. I played a little basketball. I tried football, but it just never worked out. But soccer was always the one thing that the entire family understood, that the entire family could get behind. And that was instilled to me very, very early on. And I've done it with my kids.
Yeah. How about you, Emre?
The culture similar to you guys, but I brought in Turkey, when you're born, pretty much they tell you which team you're gonna cheer for because your background and your family. So since I born, I'm from Fenerbahce. They're one of the biggest teams in Turkey, and you cannot change your flag. You cannot change your team. It is what it is. For the bad day, for the good day, you're from Fenerbahce. And I was lucky to able to train with them and able to practice with them and able to play for that. So, nice. But it's a dream as a kid, you know what I mean? Play for that major team, and you go over the weekend to the games. You go as a group. You cannot just go mom and dad holding hands and we're going to the game. All the group from the neighborhood, you jump in the little cars, station wagons, whatever. You go to somewhere eat first, then you go to the stadium. Then during the game, you cheer, you lose your voice, you get sweaty, you get angry, you get happy, whatever the day is. Then you lost your voice, you lost your the all energy. Now you're going back home between the stadium to home. There's another story. Are you gonna fight or are you gonna celebrate, or are you gonna put your head down and criticize the whole game or the coach, or are you gonna fire the coach or whatever? But that's every weekend.
Oh yeah.
And that you grow up with, and you learn as you go as a child to growing up, how to behave, what to do, what's going to happen in that, they be part of you. It's a different than here. People here, they can change teams. They can go with their, certain people. And if you guys notice that certain part of the stadium, they don't cheer, they don't scream, they don't get excited with the game. They just watch, no emotion. There's no part of the game, and they eat their popcorn. I'll tell you one funny story, and I'll try to cut it short. In World Cup in France, I was in Europe, and we were in Spain, and one of the good hotels, the 100% good service. My ex-wife and I and the kids and everything else, and we want to watch the game from the TV. And my wife, she was American. And she says, "Oh, let's order pizza and this and that, and everything comes to the room. We can eat." I just look at her eyes like nothing's gonna come. Trust me. So as soon as games start in France, in Spain, in Barcelona, everything stopped. I'm not kidding you. There's no car in the street. Nothing's moving in there. The around the city and the street. And we're looking down. I'm looking at like, okay, game start. And we ordered a pizza before the game. Guess when the pizza came? After the game is over, an hour later, they said, "Hey, there's your pizza." And I mean, I knew that already, but my wife couldn't believe it. She was like, "What kind of service is this? What's going on?" I said, "Hey, people stop everything in Europe, watch the game, regardless what game is. Then after the game, life goes back on, reality." You're not going to see that in the United States, especially national games.
Maybe Super Bowl. That's it.
Yes,
maybe. Yeah, maybe. How about you, Carlos?
If it's not, you just watch it for commercial.
That's true. That's true. And see what movies are coming out.
Sorry if I bored you guys, but that's the difference between cultures.
Yeah.
No, it is.
And Carlos, how about you?
Well, what's funny is that when we moved to California, because I was born in Canada, and in Canada, my dad coached a soccer team, and my neighbors, they played soccer. We went to go watch. But when we moved to California, funny thing is, I thought American soccer was for women only. Because that is all I saw. And then that's all. And then people would make fun of you. Oh, you like soccer? You want to play soccer? You're a girl. That's what was ingrained in me.
It wasn't a tough sport.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then,
physical.
and it obviously wasn't very popular. But that's what I thought. I thought it was a women's sport. U.S. soccer was a women's sport. And unfortunately, and not unfortunately, but it is today. I mean, they dominate. I mean, the women's soccer dominates. But it wasn't until the World Cup came to the U.S. I was like, oh, wait a second. No, this is a great sport. I love this. I love watching this. I was surprised, because growing up, my cousins played soccer, and we'd go watch them practice. But for some reason, my dad never put us in soccer, which I was odd. But once, World Cup came, then I caught wind of CCSL, and then I started playing soccer in the CCSL, which is an amateur league. And I think I played for 12 years in CCSL. And I knew I wasn't going anywhere. It was just to play. I just wanted to be a part of something. I wanted to be a part of the soccer culture because that's what I wanted. So that was my introduction to it. Came here, thought it was for women. Not until the World Cup came here that it became something else to me. And to this day, I still play. It hurts to play, but I still play. And my son, he's only 19 months old, but when he gets old enough, he'll kick a ball around, but when he gets old enough, I'm hoping, he likes the game enough to play it, and make something of it.
Yeah. Growing up, soccer was not part of anything growing up. Yeah. My dad watched it, but I played high school football. I played baseball. I played organized basketball. My dad came to a football game one time. He was so lost at what was going on that at halftime, he just came up to me and said, "Hey, we're leaving." I said, "What do you mean?" "I don't know what's going on." And they just left. And I'm like, "You're just leaving? The game's still going on. Like, I still have another half to play." Like, "Nah, we don't know what's going on here." So, but it's just, what I think it also is in America is there's so many options for kids to play sports. It's not, in Europe, soccer is number one. But name 2 or 3 other sports that kids gravitate to in Europe. Here, there's so many sports for kids to gravitate to.
Now it's basketball over there.
Well, yeah, see, now it is because the American culture blew it up. But that's not the same here, in the sense of soccer. Europe doesn't affect soccer here. Mm-hmm. It's dominated by kids have so many options. They can play basketball, baseball, football, soccer. Hockey's really popular in the Northeast. You go there and kids don't want to play soccer, or can't half the year anyway, but kids don't want to play soccer. They don't want to play baseball or football. They want to play lacrosse, in the Northeast. You know what I mean? There's so many options here for kids to play. And I think touching on like college soccer, you're right about one thing. They'll get rid of it in a heartbeat. It doesn't make money. They don't care. They don't give scholarships out for soccer players, but maybe 2 per team.
They give $2,000 for college scholarships.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll give you enough for your first 2 years and go, oh, that's all you're getting.
This is also the MLS. I remember some of the Czech Republic players, $2,000 a month to play, and this is not joke. So this is
that was their income. That's what they got paid to play.
Yep, and that's why they left the club because they have to have a job to survive to play Czech Republic. And there was one Romanian guy came and try out for Czech Republic about 10 years ago. And he was too much for us. He just came because he has a couple Romanian friends here, and he came from Germany. And he was playing in the second league in Germany. He just wanted to join and see what they're going to do with him. You know what I mean? So they said, "Oh, you look good, everything else." And he's like, "You want to play for us?" And said, "Sure." They offer him $50,000. I'm not kidding you. And he ended up going to Germany, play for Frankfurt, $1.5 million. He signed up for it. $1.5 million is nothing, by the way, in Germany. You'll be broke as a joke as a player.
Like the bench warmer.
Your lifespan is another maybe 10 years, maybe 5 years you're going to play if you don't get hurt. So it's not a big money. So
And then that's a good point as we talk about the MLS. I don't think players. I mean, people might say, "Well, they're not the talent, they don't money talent of Europe," but players don't get paid very well in the MLS. I think the average salaries maybe $90,000.
If you have, yeah.
If someone can kind of see what that is, but MLS, that's the thing about the MLS. Like I said, MLS is regional. There's 2 teams here in Los Angeles, and I tell you what, they love their teams in Los Angeles. Oh, they absolutely love the LAFC club, whatever they're called. They love the Galaxy. They sell them out all the time. I'm going to tell you, it's a regional thing. People, what's the Seattle? Seattle has a great MLS fan base.
Yeah.
Portland does. I mean, all these teams have a great fan base.
Chicago, New York.
Chicago, yeah. They just don't travel well. They just, and you don't. And to be honest, when it's on TV, who cares? I've seen LA Galaxy games live. They're a lot of fun, but I won't watch it on television. I mean, what's the one thing you guys think MLS can do or should do to improve, not necessarily better players, but just improve the product in general? Like what would be a take you would have? Danny, what would be your take on that?
Better players.
I just said no better players.
Exactly. Honestly,
what makes better players? That's just by name, because they can't afford to name players. So do they build their own stars or try to? Because I'm pretty sure they do try to, but again, it's a regional thing. So pretty sure LA fans know all their good players, but they don't know all the Columbus players.
Sure. I think the number one thing with the MLS in terms of attracting better players is you're going to have to get them from Europe and from South America once they've passed their prime. Because any young American player who's plying their trade in the MLS will get signed to a team in Europe. So you can have them start there, but they're not going to stay there. Inter Miami just brought in Gonzalo Higuain from Juventus. To me, that is a big signing because I think Higuain can still play at a high level in Europe. So, but also he's not going to Columbus. He's not going to go to Kansas City. He's going to go to a big market where the MLS wants to make sure that they have star players, which is Miami or New York or the 2 LA teams. With Sacramento getting a franchise now in 2020, I think you got to push back to 2023. I'm not dumb enough to think that, in 3 years, we have a chance of getting someone like Lionel Messi or Ronaldo at the end of their career. It's just not going to happen because the money isn't going to be there for that team. To me, what the MLS has to just figure out what it is, and I think it's a regional thing. I'm not going to care about the MLS, to be perfectly honest with you guys. I like the product. I have friends who cover the Galaxy. They have their own podcast, the Corner of the Galaxy podcast. I've been following them just because I enjoy their product. But I'm not going to get all into the MLS until the Republics start. And once the Republics start, then I'm going to be more familiar with, the both teams at both conferences. You'll obviously gravitate to the players that are on your team, and then you'll kind of start seeing how the league works. The designated player stuff, the allocation money, that's a lot of convoluted BS because there's ways to circumvent that stuff, and the bigger market teams have been able to do that. They've been able to trade players to get other clubs' allocation money so that they can bring in guys like Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Thierry Henry and David Villa and Andre Pirlo. But I just don't think that there's a fix, Lafayette, to answer your question. I just think that it's just going to be a slow burn to get better players. But at the end of the day, the product is going to be the product. And I don't think as it currently situates itself in the lexicon of sports in this country, it's just going to be what it is. And I enjoy the product personally. I enjoy that it exists. I think it's very, very beneficial to a lot of kids in this country. Emre, the one thing, like you work for, is it Placerville United?
Placer United,
I'm sorry. This section of California, you have Placer, Folsom, Roseville, Sacramento, Davis, Elk Grove. In terms of a hotbed of soccer, I think it's a great thing that this region is going to get themselves an MLS franchise.
That's why it started off so well, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like when the Republic got here, 20,000 seats sold out at Hughes Stadium 3 weeks in a row. It's more than a Kings game, you know? It's like...
Yeah, and that franchise is going to do great in terms of attendance because there's so many kids in this region playing soccer. But we have to also be realistic about what it's going to be, and it's going to be an MLS franchise. And unless it is a right out the gate super successful MLS franchise, we're going to exist because we're going to sell tickets and we're going to make money that way. But we're not going to attract anything different than what the current player scale is.
Yeah, and I think MLS is NFL Europe. You know what I mean? Where we're always going to look at the Premier League as like the number one soccer, no matter what. So when someone brings up MLS, you go, "Oh yeah, that's like minor league soccer." You ever seen the Premier League? You know, like that's kind of the take on that. But I got an update. Average salary of an MLS player, $345,000.
I was going to say that. I was waiting.
You were going to say the exact number.
Yes.
Hold on, that average.
I looked it up.
That's average.
That's the average salary. That's the average.
Yeah,
so that's
that's
basically the
average.
lowest.
Somebody gets the top and the rest of them don't.
The other guy gets like 90,000.
Oh yeah,
it says
it's
like
true.
It's 70,000 a week that a player makes.
Yeah, which
minimum.
is good. I mean,
If they get that much, I start playing back again.
Sign me up. I'm ready to go.
All right, that's not bad. Okay, Carlos, what's your take on the MLS?
Well, when it first started, I'm glad, like Danny said, I'm glad Sacramento's getting MLS because I'll definitely go watch games. But the biggest reason I'm going to go watch the games is not because of Sac Republic, because I want to see the other teams when they bring the older players from Europe to come play.
Like the Kings back in the day.
Well, exactly. Like when LA got Beckham, I went to the game to watch Beckham. I didn't go because I was an LA Galaxy fan. I could care less. I was there to see Beckham, right? And then I didn't get a chance to see Ibrahimovic. I would love to have seen that guy. To me, the MLS is the retirement home for great players. Yep. They know they can still play.
Great call.
Right. They know they can still play, but they're not starters anymore on their home teams or in Europe or anything, right? But they can still play. They can come over here and they can dominate the game. I mean, and to me, the MLS, when it first started, I never took it seriously because, I mean, come on. U.S. has this tendency to try to make something popular and make it their own. I mean, they had 2-point circles for crying out loud when the game first started. If you could score from that circle, it was worth 2 points. Just leave the game alone and just try to make it your own, but don't change the rules. I mean, don't try to convolute. It was just ridiculous. That's why I've never taken it seriously. And I don't think I ever will. I mean, Europe soccer will always be in Premier League and, Madrid, Barcelona, and all those teams and all those, France. Those to me are real soccer, but MLS, like I said, it's just retirement league. I want to go watch Sac Republic when they bring another player over. Maybe I'll go watch, if he's still in the league at the time, maybe I'll go watch Nani because he plays for Miami currently, I believe. Am I correct, Danny? Is that right?
Orlando, right.
And is Kaká, is he still playing?
I think he's done.
I think he's done, yeah.
Like Rooney came over for a little bit, but he got to play and he dominated, but he went back home and I don't even hear his name anymore.
He's a player coach.
Stayed here.
No, he's a player coach. Better option.
Oh, is he?
It just shows you the talent level from like United States talent level to Europe talent level. It's
right.
There's a big gap.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree with the retirement league to a certain extent. I think it's gotten better though, simply because Ibrahimovic was here and now he's back at AC Milan scoring goals. Beckham was here for a while and he still went to go play for AC Milan as well. And so I do think the whole thing as a league, it's a retirement league per se. I don't think it's as big of a retirement league as it used to be, but the way it's built is still aging stars, bring them over, cash in as much as you can, and then just if they're done, they're done at the end of it. And if they want to move on and go back to Europe, if they still have a little bit of juice, go for it.
Yeah, and you had a good point about Ibrahimovic. He revitalized his career through the MLS. He dominated so much that a team in Europe was like, "Oh, bring him back. Don't let him stay there anymore. Bring him back right now." And he's doing it over there. He's dominating again over there. I mean, Emre, what's your take on the MLS?
I go different direction than you guys. I know because you guys want to see some stars in MLS. Yeah, bring old retired players from Europe all over the countries. I rather bring the MLS to the different level, the excitement, the speed, and like a college basketball, college football. So I rather play the youth American players instead of somebody from Europe somewhere. We can do that as a show games. We can do that as a off-season games or some kind of tournaments to see those players. But when you bring somebody old and taking spot and taking a lot of money from the table, it kind of kills the youth soccer in the United States to play in front of the crowd, play in the stadium, and digest that and able to become a United soccer player, United national team. So because this retirement guys comes in with the agenda, all about them, nothing about the youth, nothing about the United States soccer. So I rather put a limitation. I will say, okay, you're gonna bring that kind of player. You can only pay this much amount of money for this guy, because you're taking that money from the pool you're giving them. I'd rather give another 5 youth American players, promote the soccer, and they get paid. Oh, that will trickle down to the 14 years old kid. I want to be like him. I want to get paid like that and play like that. And also brings the excitement. When I watch the MLS game, I fall asleep. I'm sorry. There's no excitement. So predictable. And you know the game, what's going to happen. And if you're okay with it, I'm not okay with it. I want the unpredictable game. I don't want to know what's going to happen every 5 minutes, and I want the cheer. I want the excitement in the stadium. Just like, when you watch the college football and that you don't know the scores, it can go anywhere, and excitement. So I think that will draw more people to come and watch, and also related to see their own players. And from United States, I want to be like him. I don't want to see my kid saying, I want to be a Beckham. He's an English guy, and he's not going to relate it. If my kid's American, I want to say, hey, I want to play like Joe. Joe's good. So I give you a funny story. Drogba came to, the United States MLS. He didn't do any practice with the team, right? He didn't do practice with them. He just came to the game because it was too cold for him. And he came to the game and he scored because he knew that already. He's playing so high level. I mean, there's no point. He practices at home. He just came to the game and he got paid. And that's, to me, is a craziness, So I agree one point to make this soccer lovable in the United States. But all the parents watching the Premier League, Spanish League, German League, whatever, everything is everywhere now But when I'm in the stadium, I want to be part of my team, my players. Hopefully, makes sense. So
right, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes complete sense. All right, well, we'll come back right after this with our last segment: the best player in the world and what makes him the best player. Right after this on Nerds Talking the Podcast.
Don't forget to subscribe. Turn on notifications for new episodes every Friday. Nerds Talking the Podcast.
Welcome back to Nerds Talking the Podcast, the soccer special edition. And we've touched a lot on U.S. soccer from youth all the way to the MLS. But now it's time for the big question. Who is the best player, not just in the world, maybe the best player you've ever seen, but what qualifies a player to be the best in the world or even at the moment? So, instance, Michael Jordan, we always say he's the best basketball player ever. And we all watched him play and he won championships, the stats, so on and so forth. But soccer's different. Soccer has a million different leagues going on. There's different cups, there's different championships, there's different tiers, I guess, to a player, so what makes, first of all, you're gonna tell me who the best player is in your opinion and why he's the best player, and then we'll all fight each other. All right. So here we go. We'll start with Maurice. Maurice, give me your take on the best player. What makes the best player? What's the criteria for what you would consider the best player in the world?
You really have to ask me that question. Like,
I know. Are you gonna say? You're probably gonna say Landon Donovan, but go ahead.
Yeah. It's Clint Dempsey.
Very nice.
For me, for sure, it's Cristiano Ronaldo. Because like I've seen the guy since he was like 17, playing Manchester United, coming across, and just to see that kind of player play at that level for our country, our nation. It's like, wow, and it helps people like, oh, you're Portuguese? Yo, Cristiano Ronaldo, and that's what I get a lot, But for me, like he's a crazy athlete, just a great goal scorer. And then the thing that just like gets me like amazed is longevity. It's longevity, like longevity, whatever, what I'm talking about. He's played forever. Like he's already past like his age now. We would already see him, other players in the MLS, like doing the retirement parade, whatever you want to call it. But he's still playing, and he's pushing at a pace where he still makes his teams competitive. And it's amazing to me. It's like where you see these guys. How old's Cristiano Ronaldo now?
35.
34, 35?
35, yeah.
Yeah, you don't see guys playing that long. And they're already done. They don't even want to play for the national team. They don't even want to play. They're ready just to make their money. He's still he's still striving to make national soccer for Portugal like good. And he's still trying to bring them a World Cup win and a Euro Cup. And he still wants to play. And that's amazing to me,
There we go. So Maurice, 1 point for Ronaldo. Emre, who is the best player in the world, and what makes the best player in the world?
All it defines, and everybody has their own understanding and what's the best. I look at it differently, and Cristiano Ronaldo is a very good player, very good, and also idol for a lot of players that they look up and want to be like. And it has a lot of qualities, but I look at it a little bit differently. I look at Messi, you know what I mean? Before Messi, there was other players like Johan Cruyff, Beckenbauer. You guys don't know, those are my age group, Pele. And this type of players, there has a characters. They not just they're good, they also makes their teammates look good. So they carry the team. Zidane from Real Madrid. I don't know, you guys watched Zidane in the past. Mm-hmm. Very talented. And I think age 40, he played the World Cup. You guys know the butthead. He was going to be the most MVP in that. So these are the players that they have a leadership in the team, that they have a magnetism. They pull together rest of the players and win as a team. They don't just put their own effort with their number, but they make the other players look good too, and they get looked up. And they have loyalty when they play this play. If you guys look at them, they don't change teams. They don't go anywhere. They stay in the same club. So, and hopefully makes sense. They don't go after money. Money comes to them. So club they don't think about to sell them out or trade them. Hopefully makes sense because their leadership and their influence in the team. So that's why I say Lionel Messi.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. I mean, I think for sure you have to look at, because Carlos and I got into this a couple of weeks back about best player in the world. It always depends on your personal preference, because your club player, your favorite club player to you could be the best player in the world because he's dominating in that league and in that club.
Yeah.
Somebody that plays in the Wales whatever soccer league, and you never heard of him, but over there he's the Ronaldo of the league, and you're like, that guy's amazing, and he might be, but we know he's not. We're using an example. So go ahead, Danny. Give me your best player, your criteria, how you kind of see it for soccer.
For me, it has to be that you balance being the star with wearing the armband. And again, one of us is going to say Messi, one of us is going to say Ronaldo. I don't know if there's going to be any other options in terms of current players, but you really can't go wrong with either one. Personally, I'm going to go with Ronaldo simply because he's been the captain of the national team now for over a decade. He had the captain's armband put on his arm at a very, very early age, something that I thought was crazy at the time. But in terms of just the national team aspect of it, he's had this Michael Jordan type impact on kids in Portugal to where now you're seeing these kids who are, 20, 21, making the national team and now playing with the idol that they grew up looking at and watching when he was playing at Manchester United and when he was playing at Real Madrid. He is, both these players, Ronaldo and Messi, they are once in a multi-generational talent. We are arguably looking at the two greatest to ever play this game. But where I see the advantage, I guess, between Ronaldo and Messi, Emre had said that Ronaldo's on his fourth club, I think. Messi's been Barcelona through and through, and that's commendable. To me, I look at the leader more on the national side with Ronaldo than I do on the club side. I think that Messi has a more of a leadership role on the club side than he does with Argentina. I don't think that they've excelled to where they should have. I think that they had their opportunity against Germany in the World Cup, and Germany was such a great team that that World Cup, it was going to be hard anyway. But I just think in terms of best player, I think having the international success that Ronaldo has had over Messi puts him over the top for me. And then, but what a leader does to me is no matter how bright the star is, he makes sure that those around him feel just as important and play just as important, because if you can raise your teammates' level up on the field, I think it's a great sign of how good of a leader you can be. Emre brought up Zidane. I don't think there's been a more smoother player ever on the field. Mm-hmm. Him and Ronaldinho, in terms of just aesthetics of watching people, watching football, watching soccer, probably my two favorites ever that I've ever seen. They're just the smoothness on the field. There's a skill level there on both those players that cannot be touched. And probably Johan Cruyff, Emre mentioned, probably that's the generation before, 2 generations before, were very similar players to them in terms of just the smoothness and the fluidity of the field, or on the field, I should say. But a lot of choices. I almost put
Johan Cruyff used to smoke cigarette in the halftime. You know that, right? During the game.
Well, it doesn't shock me at all.
2 packs of cigarette during the game. I'm not kidding you. Back in the days, he used to smoke on the sideline and put them out there. We were like, what the heck, And this guy has such a phenomenal speed that you couldn't catch the guy on the field.
Nice. And Carlos, your take on what makes the best player in the world? I know your answer. You guys are all the same.
Well, to me, I could give you the obvious answer and say Ronaldo, but it's always a toss-up between Messi and Ronaldo, because I think maybe it's because of how Ronaldo is also portrayed in the media. I mean, when they talk about the two, they always say that, well, Messi is a bigger team player. I mean, he hangs out with Neymar, he hangs out with Suarez, or when he was on the team. When those two guys were on the team, it seemed like these 3 guys were like buddies and hanging out, right? And it made it look like, he made people want to play in Barcelona because, hey, I want to go play with Messi because he's a nice guy. That's what it came out to be. And then, like Emre pointed out, Ronaldo seems to follow the money, right? I mean, that doesn't make him a bad player. I mean, obviously teams want him. Like Lafayette, you had mentioned, well, there might be a guy in Wales who might be the Cristiano Ronaldo of Wales. But I'm sure if you follow that team in Wales and you heard Ronaldo's coming, you're like, well, who the hell was that guy? We want Ronaldo, right? So, I mean, anybody would want to pick this guy up. So because of that, I'd have to go with Ronaldo. I mean, I know Messi has won more Ballon d'Oros won more than Ronaldo, but that doesn't make him a better player, right? I mean, and like Danny had said, on a national level, Ronaldo's definitely, he's definitely the guy that you want to lead your team. Because, I mean, Messi, I don't remember the last time he was even in Argentina, right? I mean, he's been in Spain.
He's not an Argentini. He's a
right.
Spanish.
He's Spanish, right? He's been there since he's at least 12, I believe.
Yep.
And he's never gone home. He only goes home when he's playing for the national team. So because of that, because of I have to side with Danny on this, because of how he leads the national team, Ronaldo gets my vote on that.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. So we have one
Let me ask you one question.
Yeah.
What's the first team that Ronaldo played?
Sporting.
Yeah. Sporting Lisbon, not Benfica.
Yeah. No, never played. No,
Oh, it's all right.
It's okay. We've lived with that fact. It's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah,
Sporting is giving us all the best players in Portugal.
But if you change a tint on your TV, you can easily make green turn red. So it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So we got 3 Ronaldos and 1 Messi. I go with Mbappe. Plays in France. Kylian Mbappe. He's on the cover of FIFA Soccer. That's pretty much the only reason that I'm choosing him, because he's on the cover of FIFA Soccer. There you go. That's it. You get to use him on your team when you pre-order the game. So there you go. Ronaldo was on the cover plenty of times. So pass it on to the next guy. But yeah, that's I don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna argue with you guys when you say Ronaldo is the best player in the world. Essentially, people that don't necessarily follow soccer, they just know who Ronaldo is. And the thing is, Ronaldo is that type of player where, oh yeah, that guy's really good, huh? They never really watch soccer. They know Ronaldo is like the guy in soccer, and they probably never watched it. And that's kind of what he carries. He carries that stigma of, oh, it's like Maurice said, oh, you're Portuguese, Ronaldo, huh? And that's all they'll say to you, and that they know nothing about soccer. They just say that Ronaldo.
He's globally known.
Yeah, and then you throw the whole, oh yeah, he's related to me. No way. They don't know. They barely know where Portugal is. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He definitely is worldwide. He's that guy worldwide. I mean, it's crazy to think that, but when it comes to Messi, he's not that guy in that aspect. In the soccer culture aspect, he's not that big. I mean, he's massive, but he's also 5'5" or something like that.
I think Ronaldo has like the most Instagram followers in the world.
Well, there you go.
It's either him or Ariana Grande.
Yeah, I think it's a tie. It could be a tie.
I thought it was The Rock.
No. I think it's Ariana Grande.
Hey, and Emre, anyone who beats COVID, and Messi hasn't done it yet. Ronaldo's already beat COVID, so he's definitely number 1.
So Ronaldo has a Euro championship. Does he have a Premier championship?
He's got Premier. He's got Champions League. He's got the.
He has a Spanish Cup, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he's done it all, man.
And he beat COVID. Think about that.
And he beat
Good Lord.
COVID, yeah.
This guy could run for president.
Yeah.
She'd probably.
I was wondering, you're gonna say HIV. He's not a family man. We know that.
No, he's not. I won't. Yeah, that's where we part company, I guess.
He's the best.
He's the best.
Great.
He's a true soccer player. He's a party man.
Yes. Man, when you go over to Portugal, his face is on everything.
Of course.
Talking about everything. Like you go and buy like a pastry in a box, he has his own.
Which it should be because that's the one Portugal players that over the world. Hopefully makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
It's a no doubt. That should be right way, and I have a respect for that because when it comes to professionalism in the game, he works out. He doesn't have just talent. He goes out there and do the job. Watch his weight, watch his fitness. He respect that part of the game. Some players don't. If you guys notice that when they make money, they get with the girls, the parties, they get sloppy, and they will disappear. I'll give you a perfect example. George Best. He was one of the most talented player on the field, but George Best got lost in the clubs. He was drunk half of the game. He had a hangover before he comes to the game practices. So, but we lost him. He was the one of the guy when he goes to the field. Oh man, you will love to watch the guy.
Wasn't that a 30 for 30? I think on ESPN. Yeah. I think if you look it up, you'll see that it's a really good one too. All about George Best and how he basically threw his career away.
Yes,
because he just loved the party.
We used to go to the movie theaters to watch because we didn't have the TVs those days, and used to watch the news on the theaters, and we used to go out there and watch George Best games for half an hour. It was a black and white, and one of the fastest guy. But sometimes that fame gets you. Take it the wrong way. That's why this Messi and Ronaldo, they're able to control that. Ronaldinho, you said Ronaldinho get sloppy. He ended up getting jailed and got in the tax problems and everything else. Some players got lost like that, but certain players, they kept their personality and they kept their professionalism. So both players are great. So
what's the hand of God? What's his name?
Maradona.
Yeah, clean player right there. All right. Well, there we go. There we go. Well, there we go. Everybody has their opinion on the best player currently in the world. And my one thing, anybody here see Ted Lasso, the soccer show?
Love it.
Apple TV. Show. Yeah. So if you love soccer, you have to watch Ted Lasso. It is flipping awesome.
Oh, Jamie Tartt's my favorite player.
Oh, yes. I knew it. Yeah, and you know what? He's okay if he fixes his attitude. He'll be all right. He'll be all right.
Got a nice haircut.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's a little bit of a underbite or something. We need to fix that. But anyway, so there you go. Thanks for tuning in to Nerds Talking. Our soccer specialist. It's been a great little around the horn, but all the topics we touched on. Join us next time here on Nerds Talking, the podcast. For Danny, Maurice, Emre, and Carlos, and I'm Lafayette. See you next time.
Nerds Talking, the podcast, brought to you by nerdsreviews.com, your home for movie, tech, and video game reviews. Only at nerdsreviews.com.